In this video, I'm talking about capital punishment. In my opinion, capital punishment is warranted if the crime is really heinous. For example, let's say somebody killed multiple people, somebody murdered a child, somebody committed terrorism, somebody killed a cop, somebody committed murder in addition to a felony. What that means is that somebody committed murder with arson, somebody committed murder after raping somebody or something like that, where there's a murder in addition to a felony. Like in Texas, for example, if you commit a felony while also committing murder, like robbery with murder, you get charged with capital murder and you can get the death penalty for it. They also have a law called law of parties, where let's say for example, two people are there at a bank, and one person robs and kills a clerk. The person that was with them can be charged with capital murder, even though they did not pull the trigger or kill the other person. You can get executed for that as well, for being at the scene of the crime. Even though you didn't commit the murder, you can still be convicted of capital murder. In Texas, which is where I live, they execute more people than any other state. We have about 10 or 12 executions per year. We carry out more executions than any other state, and which I support it 100%. I think if the crime is really heinous, and there's some people out there who deserve the death penalty, and there's also guilty pleas where people will plead guilty in exchange for a life without parole, which I also support depending on the severity. Most prosecutors would accept that guilty plea. In my opinion, I think that people who are executed have to deserve what they get. It's it, they they committed a heinous crime against citizens. And in Texas, you don't get a last meal. Well, you do, but you don't get a special request. You have to eat what the other inmates eat. The reason for that is because I think it was in 2004, an inmate requested a lot of food, but he didn't eat it. So the state of Texas said that they're gonna end last meal request, because it's not fair for the condemned to have a last meal if they didn't give the last meal to their victims. And I support that 100% as well. In Texas, the death row is at Allen B. Polunsky unit, where they're locked in their cells 23 hours a day, and the cell is really small. I had a pen pal who was on death row. He's been executed. His name was John Thewson, and he killed two people. And everybody in there claims to be innocent, even though it was proven beyond a reasonable doubt that they were guilty. It was proven beyond a reasonable doubt, such as DNA evidence that can't be refuted, as well as other testimony and other evidence. Then the death penalty should be warranted in severe cases. I think that's the way with all convictions. I think that it has to be all convictions, despite what the sentence is. It has to be proven beyond a reasonable doubt. If it's doubted, then I don't believe they should be convicted of any crime. Especially if the death penalty is on the table. I think sometimes, especially back in the days when before there was DNA evidence, that people can be wrongly convicted and executed. But nowadays we have DNA evidence, and so I think that's the reason why so many people are getting convicted of capital murder and why they're being executed. And I think that's very important that we make sure that they're guilty. And I also believe that it should be based on DNA evidence, and it can't be refuted. It can't be refuted. If it can be refuted, then they shouldn't be convicted. And I think the death penalty is very crucial to serve justice. I think most families of victims that have been murdered support it. However, some families support guilty pleas in exchange for a life without parole. I think the guy who did the Florida shooting, that killed 17 people. I think he should receive the death penalty, but it's up to the jury to decide that. I think that he deserves the death penalty for what he did. He's sane, he's competent, so there's no reason why he shouldn't be executed for his crime. as far as mental illness goes, if they're proven to be mentally ill, whether it be bipolar, schizophrenia, personality disorder, that they shouldn't be executed for it. They should be sentenced to life without parole, unless if they're found insane or incompetent to stand trial. If you're found incompetent to stand trial and they get found and they gain competency, then maybe. But if they're severely mentally ill, then I don't believe they should be executed, which is against the law anyway. It goes against the Constitution. So even if they were mentally ill, they they can still get life without parole or just life in prison or whatever. But they can't be executed if they're mentally ill if they were mentally ill at the time. But yeah, I support the death penalty. I think it's very important. I think it's part of our justice system, and I think that most people should support it. And most states have the death penalty, but like I said, Texas executes more people than any other state, and it's the most active execution chamber. Most southern states have it. California has a death penalty, but they rarely execute people. I think that if states have a death penalty, they should execute people faster. But death row inmates have the right to appeal their cases, so they have to wait on death row for about 10 to 12 years before they can be executed. I think the appeals process should go by faster, so they can be executed quicker. Other than that, I think that's all I have to say. Thank you.